Welcome to the ACS podcast family.
We're your hosts, Angie and Charlene,
where every week you can find new material centered around your life.
Thanks for joining us on our journey. Welcome to week 3 of Mindset. We are on episode 12, and today we are going to talk about mindset and how it affects the way you look at things.
Welcome back, and we're going to kind of open this episode up with talking about how we really get caught up in how we do things. Rather than knowing what we want, a lot of times we might look at something that we want and think about, well, how? How am I going to get there? How can I ever make that happen?
I do that. I'm an overthinker. A way overthinker.
It is good to know that you could take action steps or to think about those action steps, but how does that serve you to overthink?
Oh, it doesn't. Then I don't do what I'm thinking about because I thought of 800 ways I can fail. So then I'm just not going to do it.
Good point. We all get caught up in that, right? The fear of failure. It can be fear of success sometimes, but a lot of times we get caught up in that fear of failure. It's our job to know what it is that we want, but it's not really our job to know how to accomplish it. If we know every piece and facet and action that we have to take to accomplish our goal, and we don't need help from outside sources, it's probably not the right thing for us to be working towards in our lives.
Right. I love being on a team. And partially is because I know that I can't do it all. And since I can't do it all, I'm just not going to do it if I'm by myself. But when I'm on a team, I'm like, all right, this is what we're going to do. And this is how we're going to do it. So who wants to do what? And then everybody takes the best pieces. And then I'm like, I'll just do what's left over.
I don't know that I necessarily take the best pieces, but I feel like that's a really good synergy for the way that you work. Because I think we both do that. Really take the bull by the horns and be like, okay, here's the big picture. And this is the part that I'm doing. And like, you've even come to me and said, oh, I wanted to do that part. I'm like, wait, I don't like that part. You take it.
Right. Because I feel like, do you ever, when you were playing a game when you were a kid and there was like the 4 colors on the sari. So there's blue, yellow, red, and green. And everybody like would dive for a piece. Do you remember that? And I was always
Still do that.
Do you still do that? What color is your color?
I like to be green, but my roommate likes to be green too. So most of the time I get stuck with yellow because it's not worth the argument.
That's crazy. So in our family, everybody wants to be red for some unknown reason. And I was like, well, just give me the green piece because I'm not fighting over the red piece. But it was red in our house for the cups, for the everything with my cousins. So it was a lesson like learned very young. To go, what do I really want? And do I want the red piece because everybody else wants the red piece? Or what color do I want to be?
That's a great thought about forging your own path, though, and going your own way and not following suit just because everybody else is doing it. Because chances are, if everybody else is doing it, it's probably not the right path for you anyway, because we are made to stand out. We are made to use our unique gifts in a unique way. And that is not the same way that everybody else is doing it.
Exactly. So I just acted like I was fighting for the red piece, but really I was going for the green.
That's funny. So when you think about that, letting go of the how, but we have to come back to it because a lot of times we can get really caught up in that.
Yeah.
Really, really caught up in the how. Well, I don't know how I'm going to make that happen. I don't know how I'm going to do that. That seems so grossly out of reach that why would I even move towards that? And so today we kind of want to talk about changing the way that you look at things. Albert Einstein once said that if he was given 1 hour to solve a life or death problem, he would spend 55 minutes thinking about the problem and 5 minutes thinking about the solution. That might not be the exact quote, but it's pretty close.
Yeah.
And what that means is that if we find the right questions to ask, the solution can be really simple. We just don't take the time to sit back and find the right questions to ask. For example, if you've listened to some of our earlier episodes, the editing quality, as we're new at this and kind of moving through this, has not been exactly what I wanted it to be. So I was looking online for a solution to the editing challenges that I was having, and I thought I needed a part for the microphone. So I went into a store and I asked for the piece that I thought I needed. And they told me, no, we don't have that piece, but hold on a second. He started typing away on his computer, started looking it up. I'm sure he was looking for where he could get it from and if he could get that in for me or whatever. And I said, wait, before you even do that, let me tell you the problem that I'm having. And once I told him the problem, he's like, oh, what you're looking for isn't going to fix the problem at all. You need a completely different solution. And he recommended 3, 4, 5 other solutions. And now we're implementing one of those solutions. So just because we think we know the step to take doesn't necessarily mean that we do. And sometimes if we sit back and we think about the problem differently, we can find solutions that we never would have thought of before.
That's why we sound so good today. Okay, so let's talk about finding the right question just a little bit. So we homeschool, and sometimes there's questions that we come up in our curriculum or whatever we're working on that we don't know how to do it. So sometimes you can just write it down in a different way, have somebody else, or talk about it and have somebody else look at it and think about it in a different way. Because we all, like we've said this 100 times, we all don't think the same. I don't think how you think, you don't think how I think, but we all think that everybody thinks like we think. Talking about it, for example, you said putting it down on a piece of paper on the table and then literally moving seats. Because then you're sitting in a different location, you're looking at it from a different view, the lighting is different, there's so many psychological differences that you can just see it differently. Or have you ever been stuck at work on a big problem and then you're like, forget it, I'm just going to get up and go to the bathroom or get a cup of coffee, and you sit back down and you're like, well, now it's easy.
That happens all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I used to have a job where sometimes I would get stumped on something. I would get up and I would go walk into somebody's office and I would start to articulate the question to them. And then I'd be like, oh, I got it. Never mind. Thanks so much for your help. And I'd go back to my desk. But with the idea and the example of getting up and moving around the table, think about it. If you are sitting across the table from somebody, across the dinner table from somebody, and you ask them what they see in the room, they're going to see all kinds of things that you don't, because they can see what's behind you and you can't. Just like you could see all kinds of things that they couldn't see. Getting a different perspective on it, shifting how you see it, even shifting the things that you're looking at can open up the flow of energy and the flow of thoughts so that you can find a solution or you can find that next step to take.
Yep.
Going back to knowing what you want, but not necessarily knowing the how, if you can find one action step to take, the next step will become clear and the next step will become clear. And you don't have to know how you're going to get to the solution. You don't even have to know what the solution is. You just have to know what that end result that you're looking for is. Think about it. If you are driving down the road or you're climbing a mountain or you're hiking and you're walking and somebody up in front of you says, hey, up ahead there is a big pond, and you're looking, where? I don't see it. I don't see that pond. Well, you take a few more steps and suddenly it becomes clear. That next step clears up the whole way and you can see something that you've never seen before. That's the same thing that we're talking about, is all we need is that little step to get that motion going so that you can shift your mindset a little bit and stay on track for what it is that you're looking for.
And you can do that in all areas of your life, even keeping your house clean. If you pick up one thing every time you walk into a room, there'll never be any clutter. Every time you walk out, grab one thing. Or I just went on vacation, and when I came back, now I've got my suitcase and I've got that box that's in the bathroom, you know, all the stuff you like load up in there. And every time I went into the bathroom, I'm like, I'm just going to put 5 things away. Just 5 things. No more. I mean, sometimes I grabbed 6, but the goal was 5 things. And then every time I walked into the bathroom, now my bathroom's clean and clutter free. But all I did was walk in every day. I just made a teeny tiny little step because I didn't have time to put it all away when I got home.
Right. Baby steps take you all the way to the top of Mount Everest. And thinking about that too, a lot of times we get caught up in the thought process and we get caught up in our environment. We get caught up in our circumstances and everything is cluttered and we can't clearly see the path. What we can do to free the flow of energy is clear the clutter. Exactly what you're talking about. Go clear the space that you're working in. Go clear the space that you're living in. Go clear the space that you're driving in. Clean out your car. but clear the clutter, and that can open up that flow of energy for new creative ideas. Rearrange your furniture can help and change the flow of energy and change the flow of ideas that you're getting to work on a problem that you might be stuck on.
It just popped into my head. So 3 people within the last year have gone to go, like, I want to go get a new car. And what do you do when you're going to get a new car? You're going to trade your car in. So they go get their car cleaned. And then they're like, forget it. I like my car again. Sometimes it's just taking that step to clear the clutter, start fresh. And then you're back okay where you were.
Yes. And you can see the path forward. You might find a new path. You might find that what you were thinking you don't need to do. And going back to your example too, and I don't remember where I heard this, but I was talking to somebody about my to-do list one day, and it had, 5, 6 things on it. And some of them were multifaceted. Some of them were going to take me a while. And one of them in particular felt very overwhelming. And so I was going through my to-do list, and the person that I was talking to said, but it's just 5 things, right? You could do 5 things. It's just 5 things. And just like you said, going into your bathroom, it's just 5 things. Clearing the clutter, even if it's just 5 things, even if it's putting down mental clutter, putting down that one thing, it's just one thing. Just put it down. It doesn't mean you can't pick it back up again, but really clear out the clutter. Another good suggestion, so a couple more ways that you can move through or move around or work with the stepping stones, the obstacles, the opportunities that come up in your life is, number 1, look at it as an opportunity. Just because something blocks your path doesn't necessarily mean that it's a bad thing, that it's a negative thing, that it's something that you need to complain about. There's an opportunity there. There's an opportunity to learn something. There's an opportunity to go a different way about it. There's a reason that obstacle has come up. Life isn't necessarily meant to be easy, might be meant to be joyful, but in order for us to come into our full potential, in order for us to live our full lives and to pursue our passions, there has to be growth opportunities. And so looking at the obstacle as a opportunity can be hugely helpful and help shift how you're looking at it and how you work through it.
So even looking at it from cleaning your house point of view, you have a house to clean. Some people don't have a house to clean, or maybe you just moved and you have things to put away. And the fact that you moved or you have things to put away, some people move and they have an air mattress. Some people move and they have a duffel bag. You have things to put away. You've accomplished something. You've gotten a result. And now you have to make it a little harder and put it away.
I love that. Next week, we're going to talk about gratitude and what that means. I worked with somebody previously, and one of the things that they would tell me about their sister is as their sister was standing at the sink doing the dirty dishes going, I'm so grateful for these dirty dishes because it means that I have food, or it means that my kids' friends were in the house and that they like to hang out here, or whatever, wherever those dirty dishes came from. Are you grateful for that opportunity? Even if you don't want to be standing at the sink doing those dirty dishes, are you grateful for that opportunity? And how can you look at that? And how can you make that more enjoyable as you're working through that process?
Right. Changing your mindset just a little bit and look at it from a different point of view. Remember the time that you didn't have that turmoil or that extra task to do and how you couldn't wait to have it. Or from a parenting perspective, new babies are hard. You don't sleep. You don't realize it. You think like you're going to have this baby and it's going to be like the Pampers commercial and everybody's happy and cuddly and you got the right diapers and they sleep through the night. They don't. And they need to be fed and you're exhausted and you're tired and everybody gets to a point where like, I would give my right arm to take a nap right now. But last year, the only thing you could wait for was holding that baby. So now you have the baby. It's just a little bit harder. You still have what you want.
Absolutely. So think about your mindset when you're going about that. So let's talk about another way that we can work through those obstacles. And I want to use the example of water. Think about a stream. Think about a river. Think about the ocean. Think about the rain. When water comes down, it's a very strong substance. It's a very destructive substance. We've had a lot of rain and a lot of flooding here, and we can see the destruction, but it can carve mountains and it can create valleys. And water is a very, very powerful substance and a very destructive substance. It's also very life-giving, but at the same time, it's very fluid, right? So you think about that. If you put something in the path of running water, it's not going to try to go through that. It's going to redirect and go around it and go around it. And it's going to wear away at it until it carves the path to get through it, until that obstacle is removed, until that obstacle goes away. But it doesn't necessarily try to get through it. It doesn't give up and say, well, I can't get through this. I'm going to back up and go another way. It just redirects. So how can you be like water? How can you find another way around that obstacle? How can you work within the parameters that you've been given on the problem that you have?
I love that. The only thing I keep thinking of is Tangled. When the water fills up and then she like starts singing and her hair glows and you watch it like go into a little crack. And then you know that that little crack is where you need to be pushing to bust through to the next thing in your life.
Oh, what a great analogy.
I know, right? Don't you want to go watch Tangled?
Yes.
But I mean, it's true. I love that idea of the water and the boulder.
So that's another great example of a way that you can reframe or change your mindset or think about that. If you keep that in the forefront of your mind, I can't tell you how many times that's helped me say, okay, what would water do? Okay, what would I do if I were like water, if I were going to flow around the obstacle? And that doesn't necessarily mean to sidestep your boss and go around your boss. That doesn't necessarily mean that you should take backdoor channels, and it doesn't necessarily mean that you should remain silent when your voice needs to be heard. But what it does mean is that there is always a path. There is always a way to get to the what you want if you're persistent. Water is persistent. That's more what we're saying is be persistent and find where that crack is. Find where you can push on your passions and where you can solve the problems, because there is always a solution. There can't be a question without a solution out there somewhere.
I really love this whole idea of water. It's making my brain go. You know, water's pretty much clean until it gets dirty. And I think, you know, as we're talking about this, sometimes we mess up and our water gets really dirty and it gets really mucky and we're sitting there just looking for a way around it. Well, then as it's going through that little crack in the boulder, it's filtering out all the crap too. Like you don't usually see the mud come with, you just see the water trickling through. So it can be a really good thing that that boulder's there and helps you rid yourself of all the things that need to be taken out.
Oh, I love that.
I know, like this is a good one.
I love that. Okay, one last thing or one last tip that can be hugely helpful. A lot of times we can get caught up in very limited solutions. We think that if we're looking at a problem that we're limited to 3 choices. And that's not true. There are unlimited choices out there. You are one decision away from a completely different life, and everything that you do all day long is a choice. You choose to get up and brush your teeth. You choose to drive to work and go sit at the office every day. You don't have to do that. Now, if you didn't, there would be consequences. You would be faced with those consequences as a part of the results that you're creating, but everything is a choice. With that, there are so many different solutions to any obstacle that we may encounter, any opportunity that comes up for us. So something that can be helpful is to sit down and make a list. Challenge yourself. Come up with 20 solutions, even if they're ridiculous, even if you don't think that they would work. You know, one of the things may be, well, how am I going to pay my bills at the end of the month? How am I going to make $5,000 this month? How am I going to, whatever the question is, you can sit down and make a solution. And maybe one of those options is I could go get a job flipping burgers at Burger King. Not that there's anything wrong with it. It is something that I could do, but that's probably not the best use of my skills at this point. So thinking about where that would be, that's something that would go on the list of 20 things, but not necessarily the solution, not necessarily the one that's going to get you excited, but we have to write down and clear out, again, going back to clearing the clutter, we have to clear out all of those obvious solutions before we can let our creative juices flow. So you want to sit down, you want to give yourself a block of time, and you want to challenge yourself to come up with at least 20 solutions, maybe more, but come up with as many solutions as possible. And it's okay to brainstorm. It's okay to have somebody else help you with this exercise.
And have silly solutions. Have it be ridiculous. Have it be something that just makes you laugh. Write it down. Fill your 20 spots.
Right. If I were going to make money, I could go panhandle on the side of the road. It is a solution. I could do it.
Right. I could draw self-portraits of myself and sell it on eBay. I could do it.
Right.
Nobody would buy it, but I could. I mean, maybe somebody would. Somebody would, right? Everybody's everything.
That's right. Somebody sold tumbleweeds on eBay or Amazon or something and made money selling tumbleweeds. If I can go pick up dead weeds out in the grass and sell them on eBay or Amazon, there is an abundance of money and there is a way to make money. And there's a way to come up with it. Now, that's just one solution. I don't know what obstacle you're facing.
Right. But when you're done with whenever you're done making that list, go be a cheerleader for yourself too. Stand up, say it out loud. Like, I did this. I did this. Think about when, people are going to play a sports game, and I am not a sportsy person, so I'm going to use all kinds of wrong technology. That coach doesn't sit there and scream, like, you suck, you should be better. They're like, we can do this. Let's go be a team. Let's, get loud, get rowdy. Cheerleaders get loud and they say positive things. Say positive things to yourself.
Fantastic advice. So today we've brought you a whole bunch of really great ideas on changing the way that you look at things and resetting your mindset. Remember, let go of the how, know the what, but let go of the how. Go ahead and put it in the center of the table or put it in the middle of wherever you're at and physically move around the problem and look for different solutions or look at it in different ways to see what comes to you. Spend some time thinking about the right question to ask rather than thinking about the solution, but really sit back and think about what is the right question to ask. Remember to be like water, be fluid. If one way doesn't work, that there is always another way. So have some persistence. If you get stuck, clear the clutter out of your mind, clear the clutter out of your living space, clear the clutter out of wherever the obstacle happens to be.
And don't forget to say, thank you for bringing me joy.
And make a list. Sit down, allow yourself some time, and make a list of possible solutions to the obstacle or the opportunity that you are facing.
Be a cheerleader for yourself. If nobody else is cheering you on, cheer yourself on. Look at yourself in the mirror and say it out loud.
And remember to do that because you have unlimited potential, you have unlimited power, and you are capable of far more than you could ever imagine.
And we are so glad you are in our tribe.
And the journey's not over. Make sure that you like and subscribe so you can stay up to date with the latest content and episodes.
We love each and every one of you in our tribe, and we want to celebrate your successes alongside you. Share them with us at ACS Podcast on Facebook.